Yo, what's up, guys? Alex here again from Elite Football Conditioning, and today I'm actually recording this video for the second time because the first time I recorded it, for some reason, the microphone didn't pick up any sound, so I ended up talking to myself for about 12 minutes for absolutely zero benefit. Now, what I want to talk to you about today is the perfect in-season conditioning protocol. Now, one of the questions that I frequently get is how can I continuously improve my stamina, my fitness through the season? And the way a lot of players will get this wrong is they'll go out and they'll do long conditioning runs like a 5k or a 10k because they don't want to do anything that's too exhaustive that's going to tax them and mean that they can't play or train the next day. So what they'll actually go and do is accumulate more and more volume, which if you watched my previous video and the things we're speaking about last week, is that by increasing that volume, we actually increase the overall stress load, which means we struggle to recover from it and we actually get less benefit from it. So today, some really efficient little techniques, training drills, or training protocols rather, that you can actually implement through your training week that don't actually take a lot of time at all, because one of the key factors to actually getting training done through the week mid-season, especially if you're playing 2 days a week, Saturday, Tuesday, maybe even more than that, if you're playing a lot, you're going to struggle to actually get things in, whereas this is a really efficient way to make sure you get those done, as well as covering all bases which need to be covered. Now, my principle, and I believe that this should be true for everybody, is that through the season you should actually become conditioned more and more and more, so you're even more capable of playing for 90 minutes at high speed, high intensity. You're getting fitter and stronger through the season. The only way that that's going to be possible is if you're doing the right things from day one, and I'm talking about pre-season. It might be too late for that now, but what we can actually do is sprinkle these things in to make sure that we're actually still reaping benefits and making progress as we go, to the point where you are peaking at the end of the season. You want to be peaking around the time where it's vital games, whether it's to avoid relegation, make it to the playoffs, win a league title, win a cup competition. You want to make sure that you're at your very, very best for the end of the season. Now, I'm going to try and simplify this in a way that I'm not going into the mode I go into when I'm talking to other trainers and other coaches about the physiology and the things that actually happen within the body. I want to try and simplify it to the point where you'll understand it and you'll get it. So I've mentioned 5Ks and 10K runs already. What I want you to do is scrap that, box that off. Understand that that is your aerobic energy system. So that's the long endurance-based energy system. You'll be using it now whilst you're sat down, possibly just watching this video, or if you're ever scrolling through Instagram or Twitter or Facebook or whatever it is you're doing. It's very low effort, low intensity, long duration, uses fat as a fuel source. That's your aerobic energy system. Okay, now we have another one which is focused more on power, a little bit more speed, high intensity. You're going to become breathless whilst doing this. This is your lactic acid energy, or your anaerobic energy system. It basically means you're working without oxygen. So you're working hard enough to the point where your body is using glycogen, glucose, sugar as a fuel. You're burning that off, but at the cost of doing that, because you're working so hard, you're producing lactic acid. Now, you'll know this as the feeling you get when your legs just feel like they're going to blow up, when you start to get cramp, that kind of thing. It's that feeling where you're pushing beyond an intensity that your body is able to manage. So that's where, if you work so hard, eventually you'll see a downgrade in speed, performance. Like if you set off on a full speed run and run as hard as you can from the very beginning, eventually you just get slower and slower and slower and slower because your muscles cannot reproduce the force till you achieve a speed that means you're in your aerobic energy system, which is when you can start to recover. Now, in terms of training both of those things, obviously you want to be able to play for 90 minutes, but I'm not going to send you on a 90-minute run to go and maximize your benefits there. What I'm actually going to do is shrink you right down into some methods which are going to tax both of those energy systems more or less equally, like, or not equally, but near their maximum. So the very first protocol is known as the Tabata protocol. Now this is 8 sets, it's 20 seconds work with 10 seconds rest between each set. All right, so you're going to work flat out for 20 seconds, you're going to come to complete rest for 10 seconds and repeat that 8 times. The most specific variation of this that you can do that's going to relate to football will be to go out and run. It'll be to go and sprint at full speed. I'd recommend don't do it on the treadmill because you either have to jump on and off it with the belt still running, which obviously has safety implications, but also if you're not doing that, if you're continuously jogging, you can't get the treadmill up to speed quick enough. So I'd recommend go out onto a grass pitch, do that as you sprint. Overall, that's 3 minutes 50 seconds worth of work. And if you do it right, it will exhaust you. So here again, similar to last week's video, we're looking at intensity. We are maximizing the speed we're working at, reducing the total time and the total workload that we're going to be doing. We're not going to be covering loads of distance, so we can rule out, let's say if you manage to cover, I don't know, like a kilometer, which would be a stretch during that set. If you manage to cover near a kilometer, 750 meters plus, that's far more efficient than going out and doing a 5k or a 10k run. You're saving yourself over 4 kilometers, or if you were going to do a 10k, saving yourself 9 kilometers worth of running, which keep those 9k in the legs, good to go for Saturday. So that is your Tabata protocol. If you need something a little less impact, if you can, jump on a bike, jump on an exercise bike, or if you're capable of swimming, go and swim. Like, you can do pretty much any activity. You could even do it as a set of goblet squats, lunges, sled pulls. You can implicate various exercises into that methodology if it takes your fancy. So even if you wanted to do like wall balls, medicine ball throws, go for it. Make sure it's simple, make sure you're very efficient at it skill wise. You could even do it as burpees. I don't really care. 3 minutes 50 seconds, just work your knackers off. All right, that is your Tabata protocol. Now the next up, and this is one that I really like, I've used this multiple times, is the repeated sprint protocol, where we're going to measure out a distance. I would say 30 to 40 meters, probably the most useful for what we want for football, because you're not often going to hit a high speed sprint covering that kind of distance without a change of direction. So this is going to be 15 sets of, 15 sprints of 40 meters, and we want a work to rest ratio of 1 to 6. That means it takes you 5 to 6 seconds to cover the distance, again just guessing, roundabout variable, if it takes you 5 to 6 seconds to do that, you're then going to have 30 to 36 seconds rest in between each sprint. And you're just going to repeat that until you've completed 15, and then you're done. So if you want to simplify that, you could just go, right, I'm going to use the 40 meters, I'm going to sprint, rest for 30 seconds, 40 seconds, turn around, run it back. Easy. That's your repeated sprint protocol. Then we are going to look at shortening that kind of, I would say, so less. So that's your high speed run for 15 seconds. Not 15 seconds, 5 to 6 seconds. That's high speed, high intensity. Again, you're going flat out. Slightly longer recovery, bigger work to rest ratio. Whereas this is going to bring us a little bit slower speed, but we're going to get less rest in between. So this one, we're going to work for 15 seconds. Then you're going to rest for 15 seconds. This is perfect if you're just out on the road running. If you've got a timer on your watch. Same thing, even if you're on an exercise bike, 15 seconds on, 15 seconds off, and you are working above your maximal aerobic speed. That means you're working at a speed that is greater than you are able to maintain without producing lactic acid. So I talked about your aerobic energy system, that slow plod that you're going to do. This is working above that threshold to the point where you are actually producing a little bit of lactate and you're getting a bit of pump on the legs. So it is a tough one. It is a tough one. It's going to be high effort, high work. I recommend do 8 sets, so 8 runs, 15 seconds on, 15 seconds off, rest for 3 minutes, and then repeat. Again, it's a short workout, it's not a lot of time, very efficient. The final one, if you can hear the dog barking downstairs, he knows it's nearly time to go, that's all. The final one is one which it is just a gut check, really. There's no simple way to say it. Like, you are going to be, I mentioned at the start of this video, if you set off on a long sprint and maintain it as long as you can, that's this run. So you're going to do 1 kilometer. It's a time trial. You're just going to set off full speed, flat out, and you're going to maintain that pace for as long as you can until you cover your 1 kilometer distance. Now, this is very much that anaerobic energy system that you're going to be working in. You're going to produce loads of lactic acid, and that's a good thing as well, because you can actually desensitize yourself to that accumulation of lactic acid, so you become less sensitive to it. It's easier to overcome, and your body gets more efficient at recovering from it and getting rid of it, getting it out of the system. So really, really good run this. You're going to start off, you're going to be hammering that anaerobic energy system, and then towards the end of it, or even just beyond halfway, you're going to start that little drop off where your speed begins to drop, your effort level. If you try and maintain that, that's great. Maintain it, keep your effort level up at a 10 out of 10, but your speed will naturally drop off and you'll start to slow down. Breathing's going to be horrendous. Your heart rate's going to be through the roof. That's what we want from this test. Very, very simple. 4 easy methods, which are very time efficient. That last one should be 3 to 5 minutes. 3 minutes would be an elite level standard, by the way. I'm talking like Premier League. All right, so if you can hit 3 minutes on that, that's incredibly good. 4 minutes, still a good effort, loads of room for improvement. 5 minutes, we've got work to do. That's what I'm saying. We've got work to do. So if you are a coach as well, here's how I want you to sprinkle this in. So you don't go and do the repeated sprint intervals every single session. Don't go and hammer them. Don't go and hammer your players every single week with that same run. Mix it up. Add in a bit of a 30-second on, 30-second off. Next week, add in a bit of a Tabata session run. Maybe then add in just a box-to-box run. Vary it so you're not maintaining the same consistent because whilst all these methods on their own are awesome and they work, if you've got a couple of guys or a couple of people in the team and then, it starts to go, oh, here we go, we've got that run again, the mental enthusiasm and the actual physical engagement with the activity wears off and it becomes fatiguing in that sense, and the effort level drops a little bit. We don't want that. We want it to be fairly fresh, fairly exciting, fairly new every time, so you get the best response possible from your players. So use this information wisely. Keep your conditioning interval work, stamina building simple and short. Don't go and do your long runs anymore. All right, you've got Saturdays, you've got your weekends, you've got your games for that. You've got long training sessions where you might be training for an hour, 90 minutes. You're going to get loads of running in then. Oh, and this is my final caveat. Every session, every game is an opportunity to improve. So I'm talking about in a game. Don't try and save yourself. Don't be overthinking it. Don't think, oh God, I need to save my legs. I might need to play again on Tuesday, or I might need to be available for this next. Forget it. The only thing that matters right now is this game you are playing today. Do the work, do the running. If it means you're helping your mate out by covering their space, do that run. Do not let anybody outwork you, get past you, get in behind you. If you're bombing forwards, if you're a fullback, challenge the winger to go with you. Challenge them to stay with you. Try and get them to hang on. If you're doing these things, if you're doing the things I'm talking about, you are going to dominate those battles. Much like, I can't even say it yet. You'll see in one of my later posts. Take care. I will speak to you again soon. Bye.